Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers.
And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast, Season 16, Episode 62. He's Dave Bryan. I'm Alex Kozora, SteelersDepot.com. Thanks for being back with us this Friday. Steelers Nation, Dave, getting ready for the Monday night kickoff between the Pittsburgh Steelers and Miami Dolphins. So slightly different show layout today. We'll preview the game more in depth for Monday. Have a beat writer on Monday as well. So less focus on Miami today, more focus on the Pittsburgh Steelers themselves, and obviously a very headline, serious story that seems to be having some good news on the other side, fortunately, regarding Pittsburgh Steelers star linebacker T.J. Watt. He was sent to the hospital on Wednesday, stayed overnight into Thursday due to an issue with his lung. Pittsburgh putting out that announcement on Thursday. It was either late morning or early afternoon. And we finally have some more information on exactly what happened to T.J. Watt, courtesy of Tom Pelissero this morning. So T.J. Watt, not sure if he's still in the hospital, but has had a hospital stay of some sort. And obviously his status in question for Monday, but the important thing was his health and recovery. So Dave, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing okay. That was you never know what you're going to wake up when you do what we do, right? Wake up to the news cycle never stops, and the good thing is right before getting this show underway is that we got that report from Tom Pelissero on the NFL Network on Good Morning Football, and he reported. I want to read this verbatim in case. So I don't leave out any information here. They said they did some additional tests that showed a small issue, like a tiny hole in his lung, that then needed to be sent to the hospital and fixed. So at this point, this is not a major issue. Easy for me to say, Tom said. It's not my lung, but not any type of a major or long-term issue for TJ Watt. The issue has been fixed. What he needs now is rest. And at the beginning of that, he gave a little bit more of a timeline of what apparently had happened on Wednesday there. He says, what I can tell you is that there would have been no reason for the Steelers to give any of the type of treatment that Tyrod Taylor was getting 5 years ago, considering they didn't even practice on Wednesday. My understanding of the timeline is this. TJ Watt came into the facility on Wednesday morning, which was actually a player's off day. He was coming in for a lift and just felt like he was having some pain. He actually went through, did his lift, did his workout, and then went for his normal treatment, was still having pain, and so they decided to get him checked out. And I think he says in that they thought maybe it would be a collarbone issue based on where the pain was. They ruled that out. Then they sent him for x-rays on his rib. Those came back negative. They did some additional tests, blah, 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 that then showed the tiny hole in his lung. So I know from after that Adam Schefter update on Thursday, my immediate thought rolled back to that Tyrod Taylor issue 5 years ago where he was given some sort of a injection that ended up puncturing his lung. But it sounds like, at least according to Tom Pelissero, that this wasn't anything like this. This is evidently just something that kind of developed or they have found that causes some discomfort with Watt. And at least he was smart enough to know, look, these athletes know their bodies in and out, right? You know, they know when they don't feel right. And the good thing is that he said something about it, said, I'm not right. He got checked out. And even though I'm taking, and look, you know, I think Ian Rappaport said, you know, when you're dealing with, or Aaron Rodgers, I think, said this too, you know, you never want to rule a Watt out from any type of situation. But I think the general speculation is that at this point is that we're probably not going to see T.J. Watt Monday night. But I think what the positive within this is that, it's not any type of a major or long-term issue, and that the issue has been fixed, and that all he needs now is rest. That hopefully if he does not play this week or unable to play this week, that maybe he can turn around and be back the week after. I think one of the things that I went down the rabbit hole researching the whole Tyrod Taylor thing there is he ended up being inactive for like the next 5 games as a result of that. Now, obviously, when you're talking about a vital organ like this, I mean, could 1 week turn into 2 weeks? Who knows? This is not. I'm over my head, over my Twitter degree when it comes to this. Now, we have sent the bat signal out to Dr. Mel this morning once this report from Pelissero came in. So hopefully either tonight or Saturday, the doctor will be in and we'll get a nice little recap from her, maybe what T.J. Watt is dealing with and recovery time and all like that. So, first and foremost, you just hope that he's okay, and then, football is secondary at this point here. But at least we know, it feels like we know at least a little bit more than we did on Thursday there. And I think you would agree with me that it would be a bit surprising if we saw T.J. Watt play Monday night against the Dolphins.
Agreed. That is not my expectation, but the important takeaways is the issue's been identified, fixed. He's resting, recovering, and hopefully won't be out for too long. And so that's all the important things. Himself, a husband, a father, and so those where your thoughts go initially for his own benefit, for his own health, and for his family's sake. So does not appear the doctors caused this in any which way, per Pelissero's reporting. And as he said, it didn't make any sense for this to be Tyrod 2.0 because there was no practice, there was no game. Taylor got his, I think, right before kickoff as a painkiller or some sort of injection there where the doctor made an unfortunate error. So the doctors did a good job, taking it seriously. And as you said, Watt himself raising the red flag, saying, hey, something's going on here. Can we get this checked out? And then getting him to the hospital. So I know that's 2 hospital visits for Steelers star players this week. DK Metcalf right after the Ravens game, and now Watt, but thankfully both should be okay. And that's the most important thing of all.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll just day to day at this point. We'll kind of watch what more comes out of T.J. Watt. Mike Tomlin didn't have really too much of an update after practice took place on Thursday there. Let me see if I can pull up what exactly Mike Tomlin said here. He says, I'm a little bit cautious about what I say because I'm not a medical expert, but to make a long story short, he was experiencing some discomfort when he was at the facility yesterday, and that yesterday meaning Wednesday. And so we took him to the docs and they were going through some procedures. He stayed overnight in the hospital. He has a lung situation that's being addressed. I think he has some testing and so forth ahead of him this afternoon, that afternoon being Thursday afternoon. And that's all I know at this juncture. He and I communicated last night. He was comfortable, and that's all I have really at this point. And obviously that was after Thursday's practice, and the Tom Pelissero report came out Friday morning right before we started recording this. So as Walter Cronkite would say, that's it. That's the updated news,
And from a football perspective, even though that is obviously secondary, if Watt does not play, it'll be Alex Highsmith and Nick Herbig getting the start with Jack Sawyer, the number 3. Pittsburgh is 1-11 when T.J. Watt does not play, playoffs included. So the history does not bode well for Pittsburgh, but their edge depth is a lot stronger. And of course, you have 2 very much starters in their own right in Highsmith and Herbig, and Sawyer's played well as a number 3. So of course, it would be a loss from a football perspective, but Pittsburgh certainly has insulated themselves well against any outside linebacker injury.
Yeah, but you are talking about a defense that's had its issues against the run more than just a couple of times this year. And you got a Miami Dolphins team coming into a very cold, chilly, and possibly snowy Pittsburgh on Monday night, they're going to try to be running the ball, and they're going to probably be trying to run the ball on the perimeter with Devon A-Chain. They have had good success as of late running inside and outside. They got kind of three different types of running backs there as well, too. So they're going to be leaning heavily on that. So not a great week to not have T.J. Watt, but that's why you have the depth that you have. And if there's one position on defense that this team is fairly deep at or feels fairly deep at, it's at outside linebacker. So I would imagine you get your starters in Highsmith and Herbig. You're going to get Sawyer to play a nice bump of snaps in this. And you know what the best defense is in these situations is a good offense. And if this would be one heck of a game to run 80 plays, would it not, on the offensive side of football?
From your lips to the football god's ears, certainly would love that to be the case on Monday.
Right. All right. Anything to add about the TJ Watt stuff? And once again, we sent the bat signal out to Melanie Friedlander, and maybe she can provide us something here throughout the weekend and just give her kind of medical expertise on TJ Watt.
Sure. Just glad he's okay. That's the most important thing. Football is secondary. It's all about him being healthy and being well for him and his family, and that sounds to be the case. And so whenever he gets back, he gets back. But, just happy to hear the news, the update from Tom Pelissero.
All right. What else we got going on injury-wise with this team?
Well, let's talk some roster moves quickly,
right,
and then we'll go back to the injury report. And things are a little backed up here. Pittsburgh will have their final report injury-wise tomorrow because of the Monday game, so details still a little sparse right now. But from a roster perspective, Pittsburgh making a couple of roster moves, mostly to the practice squad, although Dylan Cook was placed on the 53-man roster, signed off the practice squad. Calvin Anderson to IR due to a knee injury suffered last week, and so he's going to be out basically the rest of the regular season. Cook could get his first start if Andrus Peat cannot go for Monday. Some other practice squad minutia. Pittsburgh signed offensive tackle David Sharp to the practice squad as O-line depth. I think you mentioned him last week, Dave. Pittsburgh had a visit with him, and so he'll have some veteran depth there. In a corresponding move, they released running back Trey Sermon from the practice squad, who appeared in 3 games this year, mostly on kick return. Pittsburgh also adding additional offensive line depth by bringing back Doug Nestor to the practice squad, the West Virginia product, teammate of Zach Frazier. He was in Pittsburgh's training camp and offseason program earlier this year, and so he'll come back. He's got tackle guard experience and versatility to help bolster an offensive line, a tackle that's dealing with a couple injuries.
All right, and Trey Sermon, you mentioned out the door. Be interested to see if he lands somewhere on a practice squad pretty quickly at this time of year. But yeah, that brings us up. We kind of wondered with the Calvin Anderson injury, and then Andrus Peat obviously going down with a concussion in that game against the Ravens. We kind of thought there'd be at least one offensive lineman signed to the to the practice squad. Well, there's 2. So that obviously the reasons behind that are obvious, and now we'll wait and see make sure if Andrus Peat can make it out of concussion protocol this week, and if not, as you mentioned, Dylan Cook will make his first NFL start, you would think, at left tackle.
Right, that'll be the next man up. So from the health standpoint, Pittsburgh releasing their first injury report on Thursday. Again, everything pushed back a day. Team was off Wednesday, had their first practice on Thursday, so we don't even know the second update here for Friday, but 5 players not practicing for Pittsburgh on Thursday. Ben Skoranek with his hand, Andrus Peat with that concussion, Derrick Harmon still out with that knee, of course TJ Watt with a lung medical issue, and James Pierre with his calf limited, were 2 other players concussed against Baltimore, Darnell Washington and Malik Harrison, so that's a good initial sign for them. Aaron Rodgers practicing in full, so he's going to get a full week of practice for the first time in several weeks since hurting that wrist. DK Metcalf practiced despite that stomach issue. Y.A. Black, Keanu Benton, Kyle Duggar returning full, and so that's a promising sign for him playing this week at Patrick Queen full as well, despite that hip glute issue. So obviously the concussion guys are something to watch. Harmon, a big name to watch, a little disappointing. He could not get even a limited session in. He told reporters he was optimistic he could play, but obviously he's got to get some reps in, and so we'll see where the weekend takes him and the team.
Yeah, as you mentioned, we'll watch the Washington and Malik Harrison and see what transpires these next couple of days with them. And the Watt thing is the Watt thing, and obviously that's it. That's the top story right now. But I was, the way Mike Tomlin had talked, he kind of was a little bit kind of questionable with Harmon when he talked on Tuesday there, and it was disappointing to not see Harmon at least be listed as limited. So it does kind of make you wonder. You still got 2 days left, and once again, this is a little bit of a longer week here. Just keep your fingers crossed that maybe something changes with him and he starts trending in a more positive direction and can play on Monday night against the Dolphins. So a lot to be determined in these next couple of injury reports, and it's really kind of hard to speculate on a few. I guess the good news is it feels like Duggar's making progress back. Skoranek, guy that you need for special teams, obviously. And then DK Metcalf, he was asked a couple of questions about the whole abdomen stomach thing that got, resulted in him being pulled off the plane in Baltimore and having to go to the hospital and all. He wanted no part of those questions other than say, I'm fine, I'm okay. So he should be good to go, barring any kind of setback on Monday night.
Yeah, I think that was out of an abundance of caution, which was the smart play by team doctors. Anytime you're experiencing stomach pain after a game, you wonder, did something happen? You take a hit. You're never quite sure what is kind of maybe just indigestion. Mike Tomlin said they initially gave him Pepto, and he still had the stomach pain, so they wanted to be really, really cautious, but he's going to be good to go. Yeah, with Harmon potentially not playing and TJ Watt potentially not playing, two really good run defenders against that Dolphins potent rushing attack that you mentioned. Certainly not a good combination, but we'll see where the week takes things, and Y.A. Black and Benton at least looks like they're going to play despite some minor injuries. James Pierre, too, Tomlin mentioned him as a limited guy early in the week, hurt apparently in game, but finished out the Ravens contest. I expect Pierre to play, but that'll be a name to watch. Obviously, make sure he gets back to practice here, and Skoranek, I think, will be good to go, too.
Yeah, and the good thing about James Pierre is assuming he is ready to go. I'm imagining we won't see him on special teams at gunner again, and that's fine. They've got some capable guys to step up on the outside there and to take that role. So might it? We'll see. One of the big questions, obviously, is what's going to happen at wide receiver. I would imagine Thielen's going to be back in a uniform and active this week. We'll see. As we said, the elevations would take place on Monday this week. Valdez Scantling, I would think, would be one elevation. I imagine we'll see him back on the field again. We'll see. Probably I don't know. We'll see what happens with T.J. Watt if there's somebody else out elevated from the practice squad on Monday. And then the big question once again is, will we see? Is it going to be Scotty Miller or Roman Wilson inactive, or might they find a way with T.J. Watt down for some reason to get both those guys in uniform?
Yeah, it's a good point. The good news is we'll have our Monday show, so the entire report will be out by then. We won't know elevations by then in all likelihood, but those are all good questions to ask. And so we'll see where the team goes on Friday and Saturday. From Miami's standpoint, seem to be in a generally good place health-wise. Running back Devon Achane was hurt last week against the Jets, did not finish the game with a rib issue. He was limited on Thursday. Probably going to play in this game. Also worth checking, Rasul Douglas, one of their starting corners, and Melon Fonwu, the safety with a thumb groin issue. He was limited on Thursday, but probably going to go. So we'll check those names, but Miami's in a pretty strong place health-wise.
Yeah, I think the only question listening in on some of those Miami press conferences when it comes to Achane is whether or not he's going to wear some sort of rib protection or flap jacket or anything along those lines. But look, this is Miami's still in this thing. They have won, 5 straight at this time. One of the hottest teams besides Denver and New England. On the AFC side of things, they're fighting for their playoff lives at this point. So I'm going to count on this team having to face Achane in some fashion on Monday night.
Me as well. All right, Dave, from the health standpoint to the coordinators, Arthur Smith, Terrell Austin still speaking on Thursday, and Arthur Smith said, I wanted to open up this offense in this passing game and kind of was intentional about not running the ball as much, a rare thought from Arthur Smith, who runs the ball as much as any OC in football. In fact, he made the quip, is as much during this conversation with the media. He said, I've never been accused of running the ball not enough before. And so, kind of changed up the game plan in this one. It certainly worked. The downfield passing game was there. Aaron Rodgers a season high in passing yards. DK Metcalf a season high in receiving yards. So a little change in the offense from Arthur Smith.
And obviously refreshing to see, as we stated the other day, watching both the TV tape and the All 22 is and the game flow in general. If they don't have those explosive passing plays in that game against the Ravens, they probably don't win that game. And the Ravens played a lot of press man, as Arthur talked about, Metcalf and Aaron Rodgers, and even Aaron Rodgers in his press conference yesterday, he said, "Look, it wasn't necessarily the plan in stone to go up top to DK Metcalf on that first play against the Ravens, but they saw the coverage that they were hoping or thinking they might get on the outside there with DK. They repped that very play in practice, obviously, through the week and connected, and that's why Aaron went the direction that they did, and Baltimore just seemed content to try to dare the Steelers to go up top over the top of them like they did in this game, and the Steelers were able to connect, as we mentioned, four pass plays that had 20 or more air yards, all connected in this game. That was refreshing to see, and it will be interesting to see how many more of those they can go hunting and capturing in this game against Miami, in a game where I don't know what the wind's going to be like, but I know it's going to be supposedly cold in this game, and I think a lot of the expectations are too that Miami's going to have a lot of split safety looks in this game as well too. So we might see fewer those type plays, but as we stated, you still got to be trying to attack maybe the middle of the field in some of these situations. At the very least, like to see this team hit some of these, plus 15 air yard type situations, or at the very least, start getting back to connecting some of these throw short, run long type situations here. But the biggest takeaway for me still, after watching that game back several times against the Ravens, was those final three possessions. And I think Arthur Smith kind of commented about the end of the game, their possession wise didn't go the way that they wanted.
Right, he says, quote, we got to be good in 4 minute, end quote, which means the 4-minute offense to close out games, and Pittsburgh had the ball with, was it about 4 minutes left on that final possession, I think it was, and went 3 and out. They went 3 and out on all three of their fourth quarter possessions, and some of that was some unforced errors, some penalties, a delay of game. You had the Aaron Rodgers pass that was batted back to him. If that gets past the line of scrimmage, if it wasn't batted, Thielen screaming down the middle of the field. So obviously that could have changed the game there, but the play simply were not made. And so it was not a good fourth quarter for the offense, and Pittsburgh certainly will have to close these games out, because when they win tight. They don't win with, multiple 20-plus margins. It's going to be a close game. It's going to be a fight to the finish. And so 4-minute offense, really key.
All right, absolutely. And let's see, he was asked a couple of questions about he and Terrell Austin were asked about Minkah Fitzpatrick. Obviously, that's not really I don't think worth addressing there. He was asked about Marquez Valdez-Scantling and Adam Thielen didn't have a lot of catches or targets. What kind of difference did you see in the offense having them on the field? Arthur Smith said both those guys have played a lot of significant snaps in the league. Adam got here last week, and I thought he did a good job. He's a great veteran. I know the term gets thrown around a lot, but a real pro. Certainly Adam is. I think those guys, especially in a game like that, really helped. Sometimes I look at more about just because you don't, the ball doesn't find you doesn't mean you weren't targeted. And a lot of times you evaluate the impact people have without the ball in their hands. How many times have we talked about that over the years, especially when it comes to running backs and all? But both those that was me interjecting there. It wasn't Arthur Smith saying that. Both those guys did a good job spacing, just their knowledge. I mean, that was huge game for us. Those guys did a nice job. So once again, it would be a surprise. I think if MVS and Adam Thielen are not on the field Monday night against Miami.
And Aaron Rodgers had similar praise for the veteran guy, said it may not be reflected in the stat sheet. Valdez Scantling, 0 catches on, I think, 1 target, that 1 third down late in the game. Thielen, 1 catch on, I think, technically 1 target. That batted pass does not go down as a target, but it was certainly intended for Thielen, who was open. But just the general presence, the focus, the veteran, detail-oriented nature of those guys help make this offense more efficient. I see that conversation happening a lot with Chargers right now. Greg Roman defending the poor spacing on their concepts that makes those windows even tighter and the picture a lot muddier. So when you're detail oriented, certainly helps the offense, even if the ball is not going your way. I still don't know if they have a great sense they love MVS. It's kind of feels like every time they talk about him, they pivot more towards a general comment or Arthur Smith focusing more of his commentary on Adam Thielen. And I think Thielen's going to have a bigger role than MVS in this one and probably going forward. But, I think it still makes sense for both those guys to be active, dress, and contribute.
Yeah, and look, when you have MVS on the field, though, you still got to be cognizant of him beating you over the top. So, we'll probably see when he is on the field a couple of those 2 deep safeties situations. And look, you got to be able to run when teams play split safeties well off the line of scrimmage. You got to be able to run the football.
Yep, that's the counter to it. When they're playing those 7-man boxes, you got to be able to run it. And Pittsburgh has not always done that effectively enough this year. But if they see those looks, they will have to run the ball at will. Also, Arthur Smith had praise for Dylan Cook, his first NFL reps, 13 offensive snaps in relief for Andrus Peat, liking it back to his Tennessee days where they were down to 4th, 5th string left tackles. And so Cook, I'm going to guess Peat is not going to play on Monday, not practicing on Thursday, going through concussion protocol. My guess is he won't get cleared in time, and so likely puts Cook in line to start against a Dolphins pass rush that has a lot of veteran talented players.
The good news associated with Dylan Cook is he's been around this organization for a long time, so what you're getting at least from preparedness. Week in, week out practice kind of standpoint. So what he's good at, what his limitations are. And this is a big moment for him because this could really, impact his role with this. This is a guy that could potentially end up being maybe your swing tackle next year if things go well here. So if indeed he does get a start, or even has to play again for whatever reason in this game against Miami. This is a big moment. This is, the guys in the league don't often, they'll go their entire career of being on a practice squad for years and getting elevated, but not getting in games, only for maybe field goal block type situations, especially offensive linemen. So there is a potential for this being a career moving forward type moment for Dylan Cook.
Yeah, it's a really good point. We had that thought last year. Could he come in and push? I think it was Calvin Anderson for the swing tackle role, and Cook got hurt in training camp and was on IR for the half the year and then activated for one day, went to the practice squad. Just kind of a lost year for Dylan Cook. And even this year's training camp wasn't great. It didn't feel like it was a big step forward. He was on the practice squad to begin it for a reason, but everyone's path to the lineup is different. I kind of think back to Robert Spillane, who was a practice squad guy for the first part of his Steelers career and then slowly worked his way up the ladder to getting active and working on special teams and then carving out a defensive role. And now he's killing it over there in New England, getting paid pretty well in a couple different places by the Raiders and by the Patriots. So, who knows what could happen. And then could he have just talking out loud, a 6 offensive lineman role next year? Spencer Anderson is your left guard. If Shea Mullen does not return, Cook's a good athlete, former college quarterback. Like he's got that, basketball feet background that Spencer Anderson does, and the team talks about with him. So could there be a bigger role? We're obviously getting way ahead of ourselves here. Let's just focus on Monday. But you're right. There could be a lot down the line if Cook shows up and plays well.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll see what transpires to see if he ends up having to start or not. And I would imagine if he does, we might have a film room on him next week. Hopefully it goes well.
Yeah, hopefully the good kind of film room. All right, let's flip over to Terrell Austin. And he kind of echoed some of the things I talked about where the run defense on paper, it looks bad. And there's obviously a lot of work to do. Can't allow the big explosive plays, the 55-yard run by Keaton Mitchell. But Austin said, other than that, which I know is hard to put that aside, the run defense did some positive things, which I think is true. I did not feel the despair about this run defense as I did against Buffalo or the wild card game last year. I've said that multiple times. I think they did a good job in some moments, especially situational moments, short yardage, red zone, goal line type of stuff where Derrick Henry was not taking over. So I know Pete, it's easy to kind of laugh at, and I get the instinct to do so based on what Austin said, but I'm kind of with him on this one.
Yeah, they survived it. That's the way I look at it
Yeah.
here. And he didn't really kill you. There was a point in that second half there, especially I think after that 19-yard run. I'm thinking to myself, "Uh-oh, here comes a 42 or plus for a touchdown there." But Derrick Henry was never able to get in a rhythm. It didn't seem like where he had good back runs, and obviously they were able to get him from behind with those outside linebackers crashing down. The big bugaboo was obviously the Mitchell 50+ yard run. And Lamar Jackson, as we mentioned in a couple of the shows there since that game, Lamar's going to get his, especially when you had the mindset of you weren't going to mesh charge him. You were going to try to crash down from the backside down the line with those outside linebackers. You knew it was probably, as long as he felt healthy enough to do it, that a couple of times Lamar was just going to keep it and run around the end. And the big thing there is that we pointed out, I think, on the other show the other day, there is the long was 9 yards. So at least he didn't kill you with the 39 or 29 or 79 that we've seen Lamar Jackson be able to do. So I guess as a whole, look, we might be looking at this in a whole different light had the Steelers lost this game, but for what it was, yeah, they did a good job.
Now, Austin talked about the need to tackle well, especially on the perimeter against the Dolphins' run game that loves to get the ball on the edge and utilize the speed that Achane has, and talked about crack replace rules, which little inside baseball here on the transcript, which I think is done by, I don't know, interns or somebody like that. They don't always have the football acumen to know some of the verbiage, and so it was listed not crack replace but cracker replace, which just made me laugh out loud. But crack replace rules, so if the receiver comes down and cracks the safety, the cornerback has to replace run fit and responsibility, and I think those guys will be tested. I think they're up to the challenge. Austin said those guys are willing tacklers, which they are, just sometimes their angles and techniques a little bit off, and so certainly the ball in the perimeter, we'll talk about that more Monday, Dave, you and I, about Miami's run game, but the cornerbacks and secondary will be key in stifling that Dolphins' hot run game.
Yeah, they're going to get a test for sure on the outside with Achane, and they've got 3 backs over there that they might rotate through there, but Achane is obviously a guy that can kill you in one snap. So and they do like to get the ball out on the perimeter. And we're going to see that. So this run defense, these next several, hey, if you handle this Miami rushing game on Monday night, congratulations, you get Gibbs and company the next week in Detroit, as well too. So some big weeks coming up, especially on the perimeter when it comes to this Steelers defense that did not do a good job of that, obviously, in that game against the Buffalo Bills.
I know it's no excuse and the standard must stay high, but Pittsburgh has faced some really strong rushing attacks this season, whether that is Buffalo or Chicago, or, you're going to face the Lions next week and the Ravens twice, obvious as that is. So, Pittsburgh certainly had to take on some of the better rushing attacks of the season, which is certainly not an easy thing to do.
Yeah, and then remember you got another opportunity coming up against the Ravens to close out the season, and we mentioned Detroit, and Cleveland is going to lean on their running game. You would think when you get to that point. What is that, week 17?
17. Yeah, Judkin's still a talented runner, and even though Shadur is opening up that offense more, they still have to run the ball for that offense to have success. But Pittsburgh shut it down the first time. Maybe tougher take 2. We'll see on health and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, certainly don't want to discount the Browns either. Terrell Austin said he's doing something new that he has not seen done since he arrived in Pittsburgh in 2019. That is dropping some defensive linemen into coverage. We saw Hayward pop out twice, including on that 1 4th down incompletion to Mark Andrews, or maybe DeAndre Hopkins over the middle. And so a little defensive wrinkle there, I think, by our charting. They've dropped defensive linemen 7 times this season. Wow. So it's obviously what is new is old, or what is old is new, is the whole Dick LeBeau fire zone. You did that pretty routinely with linemen popping out, and so this is not Austin doing something that's never been done before in Pittsburgh, but in his time, in recent time, it is a little changeup.
Gives opposing offenses a little something else to think about. Peyton Manning likes to call those P droppers in those situations there, but it was a little wrinkle to keep your eye on, and interesting that you have it charted that it's only happened 7 times.
Yeah, usually off a blitz look. Since Cleveland earlier this year, Ramsey came off a nickel blitz. Echols did off a nickel blitz in this Ravens game, so it's usually part of that zone blitz mentality. Going back to the LeBeau days, not necessarily all fire zones, but kind of the same principles. So that's Austin acknowledging that. What else, Dave? Y.A. Black had some praise for the job that he's done. Quote, "He's a big who loves to run." And Black, I think, has been playing some good football and ascending.
Yeah, I'd like to see the thing I'm looking forward to YA Black moving forward is just being able to hold his ground against some of these double teams. That's been the biggest bugaboo I feel with his game, especially as of late. For a big guy, he certainly does like to run, but you know what? I'd like to see him have to run less.
Fair, but probably going to be running a lot against Miami because he'll be chasing the ball. I wonder I'm not an expert on stance. I always hate talking about stances because they're like snowflakes. Each one's kind of different and unique, and it's usually whatever is comfortable for you. Just have at it. But it feels like it doesn't get a lot of, not really sitting in a stance well because he's kind of a big, stiff guy, just a big body type. You can run a little bit, but it's a little bit not super like great with the hips and things like that. So I just wonder if this stance kind of hurts him a little bit off the line, but. I think hopefully his pad level will improve going forward.
Yeah, a big guy like that, you're always concerned about how he pops up off the ball, especially playing more snaps happening later on in games. Yeah, your technique might be okay to start the game there, but as you start to wear down a little bit, you start to fall into maybe some old habits and start popping up. And a big guy like that with the surface area and all like that, it is easier to kind of move him and all. So that's one of the things he's going to have to work on moving forward. Being such a big guy like he is making sure he fires off low and doesn't give much surface area, and against these double teams, being able to hold his ground a little bit better.
Yeah, I guess I'm trying to say, can he sit in a stance? Can he bend into a stance? Maybe there's some tweaking to be done there, but I still think it's been some good tape. I think he's got all the ideals of what Pittsburgh looks for. He's heady. He's a high effort kind of a guy. I think he's played better on the perimeter than I thought he would. So I can certainly see the direction he's going. But rookie wall for these guys too, playing a lot of snaps this year. So can Y.A. Black be able to push through the finish line? Usually by now their college seasons are over. I know college seasons are now going longer and longer with the playoffs and all that kind of stuff. But that's always kind of a thought for a rookie class. It's had some pretty good contributions.
Yeah, and if Derrick Harmon sits again this week, he's going to have another large amount of snaps.
No doubt. And really doing that double duty of playing defensive end and playing backup nose tackle, because there really is not a backup nose, especially if Broderick Mark Rhodes is inactive for this game. Anything else from Terrell Austin or the coordinators, Dave?
No, just going through my timeline here. I got kind of cracked up. I didn't want to lead the show with it this morning because of obviously the T.J. Watt situation, but I thought it was funny that what our own Ross McCorkle put out there this morning. He says he looks forward to once again Tony Romo having to pronounce Asezi Otomewo.
Yeah, the Tony Romo is not great at that. And speaking of which, I'll have a video on Otomewo tomorrow.
All right.
Kind of breaking down, because he's still pretty much, who do you think is the most obscure Steeler on the roster, where if you did the Family Feud, ask 100 people, who is this guy that you'd have the least amount of responses to? Is Otomewo that guy, do you think?
Oh, yeah, because everybody knows Logan Lee because he was a draft pick and all like that. So, yeah, he probably is the who is that kind of guy.
Would it be maybe Sebastian Castro, since he was off the roster and then came back, but he at least got some kind of preseason buzz as a special teams kind of a guy? Would it be... I'm not even sure who else might be a candidate for that. But yeah, I think Otomewo was in the running. But he played, 35 snaps in this game. If Harmon's out again, then he's going to play a lot, hopefully less snaps, because they were just on the field a ton, Pittsburgh's defense was. But I think he's put on some good tape. I've been pretty happy with his play.
Yeah, I think overall for what he's been asked to do, he and look, you obviously got some big tests coming up here, as we stated, to close out the season. And if Harmon doesn't play, he's going to continue to play a large chunk of snaps as well.
And for those who can't say Oto Mewa, like Tony Roma, they call him the Big O. That's how Mike Tomlin referred to him as. So that's the nickname for number 93. All right, Dave, any other thoughts? Again, no in-depth preview of this game. We'll do that Monday. We'll do the Beat Writer Monday. And it's a little bit shorter show today. But anything else going on in the world, Dave, that needs addressed?
Danny Smith was quoted as saying something, I think, yesterday.
Oh, really? I didn't know he talked.
Didn't he? I thought I saw something. It was needed, or something like that, as far as the special teams and DK Metcalf and all like that. I don't know. Maybe it was Kabali put it out there. I can't find a tweet right now, but
Yeah.
and look, you're going to need a 3-phase win once again, especially if you don't have T.J. Watt and Derrick Harmon on Monday night. It's about, look, one thing that we haven't really had is one of those big game-changing special teams plays this year, right?
No, I mean, not since week one when Kenneth Gainwell forced that fumble against the Jets and Pittsburgh recovered as kind of a turning point in that one. You probably haven't had that standout moment since, in a year where there were so many field goal blocks early in the season, very few as of late as teams have adjusted and corrected. Pittsburgh did not get one. They've been good about getting a block a year on punt or field goal team. Obviously, losing Killebrews hurt you this year, I'm sure, in that regard. But you had Carson Bruner do a really good job. I was happy to see him get his flowers. Christian Kuntz was praising him really good during his podcast. 3 kick coverage tackles, all 3 inside the Ravens 30. So those are big time plays.
Yeah, and obviously Ben Skoranek kind of had his kind of viral week, if you will, for a rep that he had, and he really kind of pawned it off of. That's just the kind of stuff that you kind of face on a week-to-week basis. He says he takes it personal when he's not doubled on the outside there as a gunner.
Yeah, I love the mentality. It's a guy that certainly seeks competition, plays all out. You talk about a guy that does the dirty work. He has 5 catches or so this season. I mean, he's digging out safeties in the run game. He's a gunner. He's running down kicks. He's going across the field to make tackles. He had, I think, 2 tackles in that game himself on special teams. So you need those kind of glue guys, and Skoranek certainly that kind of a dude. It seems like he's got a really good relationship and friendship with Aaron Rodgers.
Uh-huh.
All right, Dave, I think it's all that I have right now. So we'll make our picks not for this Monday game. We'll save that until the Monday show. We'll make our picks for the rest of Week 15, presented by our friends at MyBookie. Dave, I am 1-0 on the week, taking the Atlanta Falcons, following my golden rule of weird division games are always weird, and so take the, assume that they're going to be close, and the Buccaneers blowing a 28-14 lead to lose that one at the buzzer, 29-28. So, Dave, take it away.
Yeah, you're up 1-0 over me this week. I was feeling pretty good about that 5.5 points there with a 14-point lead, and boy, but is that going to be the one that the Buccaneers let get away? That they circle back to? Boy, Todd Bowles was upset, dropped a lot of F-bombs after that game. And I did too, because I had the Buccaneers laying the.
But you're crushing it on the season. You're running away from beyond the season.
I don't know.
I think you are.
You got 4 weeks to go, and I think I've been ahead of you later in the in seasons in past, and I think you've got either a 2 or 3 year winning at least to beat me in picking these games. But anyway, it is December. It's 12 days of giveaways when MyBookie, and December doesn't have to be the most expensive month of the year if you're betting with MyBookie. 12 days of Christmas is coming soon. In fact, I think we're here right now on the 12th of December with daily offers dropping back to back across sports and casino at MyBookie. I'm talking bets and gets, profit boost, free spins, and even surprise drops just for social and Telegram users. And December is packed with NFL bowl season and college hoops all serving up opportunities to cash in. NHL is going on, obviously, right now. The Penguins, by the way, traded Tristan Jarry away this morning. So a little bit of NHL news mixing in there. Go to MyBookie right now. Punch in code TERRIBLE at sign up and get your first bet covered up to $500. What does that mean? If you go big and you miss on the first bet, use your bet back bonus token and run it back again. Bet on anything, anytime, only with MyBookie. MyBookie.ag is where you find everything for your betting needs. So within that, we will get into the MyBookie.ag lines for Week 15 around the NFL. Let us first start with the Arizona Cardinals on the road against the Houston Texans. The Texans are laying 10 at home against Arizona.
It's a big line. The Texans defense, maybe the best in the NFL right now. Oh, do I want to run with that line? Give me the Cardinals to cover.
I would. That Texas defense is something right now, and I don't think they're going to have Marvin Harrison Jr. again for this game for the Cardinals and all. Obviously, not going to have their starting quarterback who's out for the season. So I will take the Texans lay the 10 points in that one. How about the New York Football Jets on the road against the Jacksonville Jaguars? You want to talk about a big line? This one certainly is big. Jaguars laying 13.5 at home against the Jets.
Yeah, it depends on who that quarterback's going to be. Tyrod Taylor, Justin Fields, iffy. If it's going to be the rookie Brady Cook, then you really feel like it's going to be Jacksonville in this one. I'll take the Jags.
I'll take the Jets to at least cover the line here. That's a big line. I will take the plus 13.5. I obviously think the Jaguars will win this game. All right, we got a big AFC East battle happening in New England this week. The Buffalo Bills in New England. The Patriots are 1-point home favorites over the Bills right now, and the Patriots beat the Bills in Buffalo earlier in the season.
Yeah, this is going to be a tough one. Obviously, maybe game of the week. Can't imagine there was anything else better on the schedule. Oh, wow, this one is going to be tough. Buffalo's just felt a little underwhelming, but I'm still not 100% sold on the Patriots of being kind of that number one clear-cut team. I don't know anyone in the AFC East right now, truthfully, though. So my hemming and hawing tells me, my gut says Buffalo. I'm going to take Buffalo, Dave.
I'll take Buffalo to win this outright, return the favor to New England. I don't have a lot of confidence in that, though, but that should be a good game that we should be able to watch in the early 1 o'clock window on Sunday. Los Angeles Chargers on the road against the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs, boy, they need to win out, and they need to get some help the rest of the way. I think I saw something they could, if like 4 games go against them this week, they could actually be eliminated from playoff contention this weekend here. The Chiefs, do or die at home against the Chargers, laying 5.5 points.
I don't love the line. I like the Chiefs to bounce back. Chiefs win, Chargers cover.
I'll take the Chiefs outright to cover this one. I say they win by a touchdown, so I'll lay the 5.5 points there. The Baltimore Ravens, coming off their loss at home to the Pittsburgh Steelers, go on the road and play the Cincinnati Bengals, who they lost to a couple of weeks ago in Baltimore. The Ravens are 2.5-point road favorites in this one, and boy, do they need to win this one.
Yeah, I think they bounce back. I'll take them to get the win. What'd you make just real quick, Joe Burrow's comments, who seemed pretty uncertain about his future? I mean, I assume he's going to play next year, but he was certainly doing some introspective thinking about his life, it felt like the other day.
Feels like, I tell you what, it feels like he's got a lot going on, both in all aspects of his life. You kind of get that Andrew Luck feel to him,
right? 100%.
Right now here, it doesn't sound like he's not having fun. It doesn't sound like it right now, and yeah, I don't know. I know Dan Orlovsky threw out there, several teams that need to trade for him. He mentioned the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'll tell you this: Mike Brown is not going to trade Joe Burrow to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Period. That's just not going to happen. Now, might Joe Burrow go and say, "Look, I got to get out of here. I need a fresh start," and for whatever reason they wind up trading him. I don't know, but he's not going to be a Pittsburgh Steeler. Back to this game, 2.5 points. You have the Ravens laying the 2.5 points. I will go with you. I think they win this by a field goal. I will lay the 2.5 points. The Commanders.
If Joe Burrow is traded to Pittsburgh, can Mike Tomlin still say, "Well, I guess Duke Tobin is smarter than all of us for trading his quarterback in division"? I don't know how that works, but yeah, what a talk about just the death of sports media, Orlovsky trying to say that kind of stuff. Insane nuclear take, not going to happen. But Burrow's future is going to be something to watch.
It will be something to watch this offseason coming up here. All right, Commanders on the road against the New York Football Giants. The Giants at home laying 2.5 points against the Commanders.
It's going to be Marcus Mariota. Jaden Daniels not playing in this one. I don't know why he was even brought back last week. What a foolish decision that was. I'll take the G-Man in this one, Dave.
They lost Zach Ertz too, unfortunately, as well too.
Yeah.
To that might be it for Zach Ertz. We'll have to see. But which way do I want to go on this? Yeah, I'll lay the 2.5 points with the Giants in this one. How about the Cleveland Browns on the road against the Chicago Bears? The Bears are laying 7.5 points at home against the Browns.
I'll take the Bears.
I'll take the Browns to cover that 7.5 points. I think the Bears win this though. Raiders on the road against the Eagles. Man, a lot of sports radio in Philadelphia. I bet's fun to listen to right now with the way the Eagles last several games have gone. All that to say, the Eagles and this could be potentially Kenny Pickett making the start for the Raiders, right?
It looks almost certain that he's going to get the nod in this one.
All right, Eagles laying 11.5 at home against the Raiders.
Pickett facing his former team, of which there are many, including the Eagles. Yeah, that line is just large. Give me the Raiders to cover. Eagles win, but Raiders cover.
I'll finally think that the Eagles going to get it right this week. If for anything, their defense is so playing good ball. 11.5. I'll lay the 11.5 with the Eagles on this. How about the Panthers on the road against the Saints? The Panthers obviously benefiting from that Buccaneers loss, and 2 of the final 3 games Carolina have are against the Buccaneers. So that's going to be an interesting end of the season for the NFC South. The Panthers in the NFC South matchup against the Saints, they are laying 2.5 on the road against the Saints.
Yeah, Saints have shown some life. Shucks playing some good ball for them, but the Panthers, I think, will be galvanized by that Buccaneers loss. Give me Carolina.
I'll take Carolina lay the 2.5 in that one as well, too. I'll be watching this one, Green Bay on the road. I'll be watching this with one eye because at the same time, Indianapolis plays Seattle. Green Bay on the road against the Broncos. The Broncos on a nice winning streak still. Packers laying 2 on the road against Denver.
Yeah, I don't have any confidence in my pick in this one, Dave. It's just hard to know that Broncos offense, where they're at, and the Packers have been a little hit and miss, too. Josh Jacobs' status. This one's tough. I'll take the Packers though, Dave.
I'll take the Packers lay the 2 points. I think they win this by a field goal on the road here. All right, Phillip Rivers and the Indianapolis Colts on the road against Seattle Seahawks. 14. Nobody has any faith that old man Rivers can get the job done here. Seahawks laying 14 against the Colts.
Yeah, give me the Colts to cover. I think Rivers finds a little bit of magic. It's going to be some ups and downs in this one, but there's enough there, so I'll take the Colts.
I have my heart in this one. I'm just rooting for Phil. I can't wait to watch this transpire here. Give me the plus 14. I'm not convinced the Colts win this, but I will take those 14 points. Tennessee on the road against the 49ers. Another big line. 49ers laying 13 at home against the Titans.
Give me the Titans to cover. Cam Ward's getting sacked a little bit less. The run game got going. DK, their receiver over there, their rookie's making some plays. Tight end Gunnar Helm. And old friend Van Jefferson. Give me the Titans to cover.
I'll take the 49ers lay to 13. I think they handle them easily here. Another good game. Detroit Lions on the road against the Los Angeles Rams. The Rams are laying 6 points against the Lions.
Yeah, give me the Rams. That Lions secondary just too beat up right now for the Rams passing attack, so I'll take LA.
I'll take the Rams to cover that 6 points as well. That brings us to Sunday night. Minnesota Vikings at the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys are fighting for their playoff lives right now, laying 6 points at home against Minnesota.
Cowboys can still be a little unpredictable. CeeDee Lamb playing is going to be big for them, obviously. J.J. McCarthy playing better football. I'll take Cowboys win, Vikings cover.
All right, I'll lay the 6 points with the Cowboys. We got a bunch of different ones this week that we're going against each other on. Okay, and I believe that's it because the Monday night game is Miami at Pittsburgh, and we will pick that game against the line. Right now, it's 3 points. Steelers favored, 3 points at home. We will pick that during the Monday show.
Has it moved at all with the Watt news?
I don't think it has.
Okay. Wonder if that says about how the NFL perceives T.J. Watt, or if that's just the uncertainty of whether or not he's going to play in this game. But yeah, we'll pick that one on Monday. All right, Dave, let's get to some reader emails and close out today's show.
All right, we'll start with Jason Chadwell. Says, happy Friday. I wanted to do a little quick throwback on this Friday. He says, is Kenneth Gainwell the best third down running back choice since Mewelde Moore?
Ooh.
I always appreciated what Moore did while in Pittsburgh, and Gainwell gives me the same vibes, he writes. Bonus thought, since the game is not until Monday, in your opinion, what kind of trajectory was Ryan Shazier on prior to his career-ending injury? Feel like we missed out on a potential All-Pro. On the first part there, yeah, I mean, I can understand the Kenneth Gainwell, Mewelde Moore comparison. Look, Kenneth Gainwell has been a lot more involved in this offense than I thought he would be, especially from a carry standpoint. Overall, and he does give you the same kind of look. Kenneth Gainwell's made a lot of plays for this offense this year, so I get that. I get the comparison there.
100%. I love a good Mewelde Moore reference. So, yeah, I'm all about that. That is, I think, a very apt comparison. I think back to some of the third down backs Pittsburgh has had, Veron Haynes and more, certainly, two that come to mind. There's got to be a good ranking of who are the best third down running backs in NFL history. There's got to be that list out there somewhere. My first thought goes to Kevin Falk of the Patriots. They always had those good pass catching backs. So, yeah, whatever comparison, whatever thought you want to make is valid. I like the Moore comparison, but Gainwell is certainly playing a valuable role.
Memo is what they used to call him. Memo,
right.
Mewelde Moore. All right, Ryan Shazier and what kind of path he was on. Look, Ryan Shazier obviously was really starting to heat up and really coming into his own at the time of that injury and all. So, would he been on a potential? Could he have been a potential All Pro? It's plausible. I mean, you obviously. Trying to think back of who he would have been competing with for that first team All Pro designation. Uh, if there's one thing I'll always remember Ryan Shazier about, it was just that quickness and the ability to knife through either over or under some of those gaps to make some of those plays in the backfield. And then obviously what he would be able to do in coverage and roboting and getting out to the sideline and making some of those plays. He obviously had the athleticism and the speed. I mean, potential All Pro. Yeah, it's plausible.
Oh, I think it'd been more than plausible. I think he would have done it. I'm pretty confident saying he would have gotten All Pro love at some point. I'm trying to find the linebackers that year. It's always a little messy trying to find some of the All Pro and what list it is, but I'm seeing Chandler Jones, Bobby Wagner, Luke Kuechly, Von Miller seems to be the names that year. So obviously Kuechly was king of the hill during his day, and Wagner as well. But I think Shazier would have done it. And yeah, I mean that the athleticism, but I think as a coverage linebacker, as you said, the way he would robot and cut off some of those underneath crossers. I mean, I still think today there's like three good coverage linebackers. It is so hard to play that position and cover it well effectively, which is so many body types you face in the NFL offenses and horizontal passing game. It is hard to be a good coverage linebacker. Speed alone is not the cure for it. Patrick Queen's really athletic, but he's not really good in coverage. Devin Bush was the same, but Shazier could cover. He was a great coverage linebacker, and that was so rare to find. And it is one of those what ifs. I mean, not only just from the play itself, but then you had to go trade up for Devin Bush, and that didn't work out. There's such a domino effect of that Shazier injury that Pittsburgh's kind of been chasing to try to replace that role for really many years now. And so, yeah, it is one of the biggest. I mean, what are the biggest what ifs in Steelers history? Is he the biggest what if ever?
Yeah, that and to it,
But at least Tua was a little more established, a little more, in his prime. Unfortunate and certainly qualifying as it was. I mean, what is a bigger what if in terms of impact on the franchise? What if Le'Veon Bell would have stayed, or what if Ryan Shazier did not get hurt?
Yeah, that's a good one. I mean, look, longevity wise, and injuries up until that point, obviously, Le'Veon Bell had a couple of injuries, and his running style was, unorthodox overall. So yeah, I think because as young as Shazier still was at the time, it would have been a more what if situation with Shazier.
Yeah, that's probably fair. And just the impact of the position, the rarity of finding that high end coverage linebacker, as good as Bell was, you could replace the running back easier than you could replace the linebacker. I mean, what are the other ones? What if they taken?
What if AB doesn't just flip out?
Well, I think we saw again. He had enough of a career in Pittsburgh. Like we got pretty much the full taste of what was going to happen. I don't know if they were kind of necessarily quote unquote missing anything else with Pittsburgh. They didn't go to Super Bowl with him. I don't know if that would have really changed. I mean, in terms of bigger what ifs, what if they drafted Dan Marino instead of Gabe Rivera? What if they didn't give up on Johnny Unitas and Len Dawson and Sid Luckman? I don't know. There's a whole bunch of them out there, obviously, but I think Shazier certainly a modern day what if and a great player.
Mm-hmm. All right. Thanks for that, Jason. Let's go to Jonathan Stevens here from South Carolina. He says, "Hey, guys, what's up? Love the show. Keep it up. Heard you guys talking about a potential Sayamalo contract on one of the previous shows." He says the number 14 million average value was thrown around. He says, "I think that's a little too high for his age. I know the guard market has exploded currently, but Kevin Zeitler just signed with the Titans for 1 year, 9 million at age 35, coming off of a really solid year with the Lions. He says, I think 10 to 11 million average yearly value for Sayamala would be fair for his age 33 season. Thoughts on this?" Look, I think it's fair to maybe at least set a floor at, maybe 11 million. Yeah, the biggest thing with Sayamalo is I think the recent concerns about his pec injury, but then on top of it, as Alex and I kind of loosely went through, uh, is just the available experience guards and how that's has a tax that seems to connect to it. And obviously Jonathan throws out a good example about Zeitler with the Titans. A lot I think is going to be determined in these final four games. How does Sayamato finish? Are there any more pec concerns with him? And what is the market? How much does he want to finish his career in Pittsburgh? Hard to imagine him not wanting to.
Mm-hmm.
So could they get him maybe at a little discount? Say at a 10-11. It's plausible. I mean, we're way early still in this thing, even though there's 4 or 5 weeks left in 4 weeks left in the NFL season here. So I get the pushback on that.
Yeah, I think Zeitler's a good comparison. Dave and I were just kind of spitballing it, doing it live. We weren't really sitting down having a thorough discussion over what that value is going to look like. Zeitler, though, is in his age 35 season. Sayamalu will be in his age 33 season next year. So there's a little bit of an age gap that would work in Sayamalu's favor, slight as it may be. But, I mean, the point is it's not going to be cheap. You're going to have to pay more for Sayamalu this time than you did last time. And it's Pittsburgh's principle of let's go pay more for this guy when he's 3 years older. That's typically not how they do business. But he has played really good football, especially as of late. So we'll see. Again, I think it'll be a really interesting offseason discussion. What are their thoughts on Sayamalu, Spencer Anderson, his future, his role, all that kind of stuff will be worth talking about.
All right. Thanks for the email, Jonathan from South Carolina. How about from Beth Weaver? I know Beth Weaver is a longtime listener to the show. Joe Burrow talks like he wants to retire or force his way out of Cincinnati. Beth says, also, Fernando Mendoza is probably the first pick in a draft. He is talented and seems like a great kid. If all things are laid out and you have to give up 3 first-round picks for either of those guys, which way are you two going? Burrow is a known commodity, but with injury history in 29, Mendoza is young, talented, and a mystery. Which way do you go? So Beth has a hypothetical is if you have to give up 3 first-round picks for either of those guys, which way are you going, Joe Burrow or Fernando Mendoza? Now, first, let's just quantify that. I mean, it would probably take 3 first-round picks to get to Mike Brown to send Joe Burrow to Pittsburgh. That's how confident I am that such a thing wouldn't happen. Mendoza obviously probably going to should win the Heisman this coming weekend. More than likely going to be the first overall pick in the 2026 NFL draft. If I'm forced to choose in this situation, Alex, give me the guy that's got the experience that's been there do that. And I've watched a lot of Mendoza's play at Indiana this year. I think he does have a nice ceiling to him. I think he can be potentially a franchise quarterback from what I've seen so far. I don't know. Burrow, if he stays healthy, is a hard guy to beat.
I think it would take 3 firsts and a bottle of whiskey for Mike Brown to trade him to Pittsburgh, because you could trade him for 3 first-round picks anywhere that would not be in your division. To me, this is a no-brainer, and I like Mendoza a lot. I've not studied the tape. Obviously, I've watched the games. It's been super impressive. I've seen the interviews. He had the one with McAfee after the Big Ten title, and great interview. Seems like a really good dude, but he is not Andrew Luck. He's not this can't-miss prospect, and even then, those things are just still 50-50. You don't know what you're going to get. So Joe Burrow all day, because it's the known commodity. Yeah, he's older. The injuries, you're going to protect him better. In Pittsburgh, I think the structure will be more friendly to him. Quarterbacks can play into their 30s plus, even though we don't know what that next step would be. You take away Joe Burrow from the Bengals and you get Joe Burrow, that's making yourself a whole lot stronger and a division opponent weaker. I'll do that all day long. So Burrow, no brainer over Mendoza.
Yeah, I'm with you there, for sure. And once again, I think Beth makes a good point about the injuries and all like that. But and then you have to wonder about how much more does Joe Burrow really want to play, or is it Cincinnati based?
Yeah, I mean, we're all through the looking glass
Spitballing,
at this
yeah.
point about this conversation. I mean, I imagine he's still going to want to play. Maybe just not Cincinnati, or maybe that's kind of a song to want some changes. I mean, it's been frustrating, not just from the team losing, but his own injuries and rehab. And I don't think that gets talked about enough about how much injury rehab just sucks. And you're away from your team. One moment you're the guy, you're the leader, and the next you're just in the training room at 6 a.m., trying to work your way back on that first step of a 3-month process. I mean, that's just tough. So it really probably has a weight on you mentally. And so that's probably where Burrow's at right now.
I'm looking at my TV screen in here right now on ESPN. They're showing that Wednesday press conference. He don't look very happy. That's for sure.
I think you made a good point. It's certainly some Andrew Luck vibes of his, because he's a very smart guy. I think Burrow's a very smart guy that's not just defined by football. He's more than just the game or being a quarterback, and the way that Andrew Luck was more than just being a quarterback, super smart guy. So we'll see. I mean, I think he'll be back. I think it's just a tough year, and you get an off season to kind of recuperate and reset. But and the Bengals, I'm sure, have no desire to go move Joe Burrow.
All right, we are 75 minutes into this show. It's a good opportunity to make this a little bit of a shorter show, get to some of our Friday chores that we have on the site and all. The film rooms, game previews for the Monday night game against the Dolphins will be up Monday instead of today, which is normally the day if the Steelers were to play on Sunday. So if you're looking on the site for that, those will be up on Monday. Once again, we have reached out to Dr. Mel to see if she can maybe get us one of those "the doctor is in" post up on what she thinks is going on with TJ Watt. So potentially look for that. A lot of great stuff happening. We'll try to keep everybody entertained over the weekend. We'll have, I think, a general discussion thread up on Sunday for all the games going around the NFL. We can just sit back and watch some football on Saturday and Sunday, Alex. So a nice little bit of a change up there as we get ready for this Monday night game against the Miami Dolphins at Acrisure Stadium. So, in the meantime, you can follow me on Twitter/X at Steelers Depot. Follow Alex at Alex_Kozora. Follow the show at Terrible Podcast. Email the show, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. If you like what we do and want to donate, SteelersDepot.com, hit the donate button. Also, if you like an ad-free version of the site, SteelersDepot.com, hit the ad-free button, follow the directions that way, get a username and password, and hit the login button to take advantage of that. Also, if you watch this or listen to this on YouTube, hit that like or subscribe button. We don't do enough of pumping that. I know Alex does a good job on his YouTube channel when we do the live streams, and all like that. So just a shout out that, like and subscribe on the Steeler Depot YouTube channel if you choose to listen to the terrible takes and the podcast and everything that we put up on there. That'll help us out tremendously. So until Monday, as always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Alex.